All right. Well, good evening. Again, my name is Latrina Artist with the Jeanette Rankin Foundation. I am here to answer your questions on tonight. I am going to go ahead and just address all of the questions that you have. I will speed up as we go. So if my speed gets too fast for you, please let me know. I want to make sure you understand my responses to each of your questions. Okay. Awesome. So, and here's the thing, if you don't have a question, that's okay. Let me know, because some just come just to hear the information, and that's totally fine. All right, first on my screen, I see Miss Rita. Miss Rita, do you have a question for us tonight?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I filled the application out last year, and it was one thing I was lacking. That was a reference.
Yes.
As a reference. And what I need to know is, do I need to do the application all over again this year?
You would. We cannot, and it's really for your protection. We can't transfer any of that data. When we close out each application cycle, your information that you submitted in the application is purged. So we can't link it. So yes, ma'am, you would need to fill out a new application with new references. I mean, or it can be the same references that you use. So yeah, just make sure you get, I'm going to answer this question because I know it'll probably come. Rita, if you do not submit, or if your references don't submit for you, your application is considered as incomplete. Okay. So please learn from Rita and learn from, unfortunately, a lot of others. You take all of that time to submit your application, but then it doesn't get into the review round because you're missing, a section or a component of it. Okay. So please make sure that you have both of your references. We are getting ready to gear up to send reminders. So just know I will send out reminders for those who have outstanding references. Okay, so if you're missing one, but let me give a disclaimer here. I say we'll send out reminders. We can only send out reminders for individuals who have submitted. If your application is still in draft mode, we cannot see it. The only thing we can do is send you a reminder like tonight saying, hey, we're having a call, but we can't see any portion of your application. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah, thumbs up. Awesome. Okay, wonderful. Did that answer your question, Rita?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Awesome. Mary, you're up next on my screen.
If I could find the microphone on here.
I hear you.
Thank you for answering that question is one of them.
Yes.
But I was wondering, who is the best person that I should ask for a reference from my college?
Okay, I can't answer that question for you. Let me tell you why I can't answer that question for you. You know who knows you better than I do.
Okay.
What I would suggest, please hear me, everybody. Look, eyes on me, eyes on me. Y'all know that song? Seriously, here's the thing. If professor that you've been with for one semester, I would highly recommend you do not ask that professor unless you have a previous connection with them. Okay. However, if you've had multiple classes with a professor, y'all worked on some other projects or research papers, whatever, and you have built a relationship with them, by all means, let me pull the questions that your references will ask. And so, Deshandra, can you go into the application portal and pull the questions that the references have to answer? And maybe, Mary, that'll help you decide who you want to ask to complete that reference request for you, okay? And again, being mindful is 2 people, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. All right, Carolyn, you're next on my screen. And you don't have to raise your hand. I promise you I will get to you. What happens is when you raise your hand, it kind of shifts my screen. So I promise you, if we all stay in here, I'll get to you. Awesome. Wait a minute. Where did you go? I think it was Mary. Mary, where you go? Not Mary. I'm sorry. Mary's who I just finished with.
Right.
Carlin.
Right? It wasn't Carlin.
It wasn't me. All right.
No, 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 no. And whoever it was, they lowered their hand. Chandra, did you lower somebody's hand?
No, that was me, Carlin.
Oh, okay.
I had my
Oh,
hand up and then you said you don't need
you
to raise it,
did,
so I put it down.
Carlin. You did
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead with your question is.
Awesome. Thank you. So in regards to the financial information we need to provide, I am curious, what tax period are we looking at when we provide that information? Because my income has drastically changed from whatever period. The past year, I have gone through a long spell of unemployment. So I'm just curious if that will be considered, or if we have to roll with the either 2021 or 2022
Yeah.
tax documents.
It's actually your most recent. Okay. So that would be actually 2022, unless some people already have filed. Some have already maybe gotten their tax papers and maybe getting ready to file. This is where it becomes to almost a rush, Carlin, for you to do this. If you will have filed your taxes that reflects what your current income is, go for it. However, if it does not, this is where it gets tricky for you as an applicant. It's almost out of our hands as to how we can confirm, put it that way, that information. So say for instance, if your income was drastically higher for 2023 and you changed jobs or whatever the case may be, you have to provide documentation to support whatever you say your income is. So the question then becomes, what do you have? So what else, Carlin, can you provide? Say, for instance, if you're married, you're in a household of two, you could possibly, if you haven't filed taxes, you can upload W-2s for you and your spouse, because that would then support your income. Statements, just like your check stub, that's not sufficient, because depending on when you started, that wouldn't give your full year if you just kind of picked up in the year. So that doesn't suffice, but W-2 would. Okay. So 2022 tax year, because that was the previous year, right, that you filed. If you can get in there and file your 2023, then of course you can do that. But keep it in mind that the deadline for the application cycle is February the 16th. So you would have to have that information completed prior to that, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome, dear. All right. Is it Razia, R-A-Z-I-A?
Razia, yeah.
Okay.
Hi.
What's your question for me? Hello.
Hi. So I was able to fill out I was able to fill out the 2024. Can I put that one instead?
What do you mean you were able to fill out the
The
2024?
the 2024-2025 FAFSA. I got back the SAI. So can I attach, that's my most recent one. That's the one that they just uploaded like a week ago.
Okay. Have you submitted your application?
No, not yet.
Yeah, as long as you haven't submitted your application, if you already have, say for instance, the previous years in there, you can remove it and you can
Okay.
attach that one. That's a
Perfect.
great
Thank you so
question.
much.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Likewise, I know they shifted the deadline for that FAFSA student aid report. Let me talk about it. The student aid report is not your financial report from your school. It's from the FAFSA, FAFSA.gov. Chandra, put that FAFSA site in there, FAFSA.gov website, and you would need to upload your student aid report. Okay. And that student aid report is a full report. It's about, Razia, I'm going to ask you, is it about 11 or 12 pages, correct? On the full one? It's a lot of pages. So when you upload,
So
go ahead.
the student aid, sorry, the FAFSA, when you finish it, it says the last page, it says like, congratulations, you finished it. And then they just give you an SAI, a student aid index. The number can go as low as -1,500. And that means you're the most dire.
Okay, not that. So you have to wait until it's processed, because I think you're talking about right when you submit it, Razia. You have to wait until it processes, which normally takes, I think it says 7 to 10 business days. So don't upload that, Razia. I'm glad you said that. Don't upload that. Wait till you get the processed one. Again, normally in about 7 to 10 business days is what it takes once you submit all your information for it to process.
Okay.
Okay. But I'm
Yeah.
telling you, it's between 10 and 14 pages long. Once you scroll, it's like your name at the top. It says
Yeah.
your EFC, all of that. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, it goes through all of your information. So it's a pretty long document.
Yeah,
Okay?
I attached my previous year. So I'll just leave it at that for now until
Okay.
unless they send it to me.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. You're welcome. All right. Shiloh, you got a question for us?
The only question I had was about something you initially mentioned about the different type of grants, 35 years and older, and then the different states. So is it you can apply for one or you can apply for both, or do y'all decide? Like, how does that?
It's just one, but it's based off how you answer these questions once you get into the application. Where do you live, Shiloh?
Georgia.
Okay, so you would want to, it asks a question, do you live in Georgia, Montana, or you attending a tribal college? So you would just say yes to that question, okay? And so that kind of sources you to the right flow of the application. It's not different applications, but I give that description because I want people to know, depending on what flyer they've received, it may have read a little differently. So that's why I mentioned all three of them, okay? So just make sure if you're in Georgia, Montana, because originally we were sharing out the information for Georgia, Montana, but now it's Georgia, Montana, and any student that's attending a tribal college nationally. The age is the only thing that's different. That it's lower for those particular students. It's 25 and older, okay? So that's the only difference. The rest of the application is the same. It's just the age difference. That is
Thank
it.
you.
Hey, Esther, how are you? Good to see you tonight. You got a question for me?
Yes, yeah. You know, last year I applied and I wasn't get it. So how may I increase my chance to get it this year?
Okay, so my suggestion, I give you several suggestions each call. The main thing is making sure, and Esther, I think me and you talked about this, is just making sure all of your information is complete. Everything.
Yeah.
I mean, just making sure every question that you answer it fully, making sure that if you make a statement about yourself, you give some context, some content behind it to support it, okay? Also, thinking about what your plans are. Do your plans line up with what you say in your application? So say, for instance, you say you want to be a doctor, right? And I know we don't support doctor degrees. So, but if that's what you say your goal is, what steps and plans have you put in place to get you or are getting you to that point? Now, if you say you want to be a doctor, but then you come over here and tell us that your passion is working on the circus, we're going to look at your application like, yeah, no, I'm just playing. I'm being silly. But make sure that it all lines up, okay? Make sure that it comes together. Make sure whatever plan you have put in place, whatever you saying it is that you want to do, that you have kind of mapped out how you're going to get there, okay? So just make sure it comes together, okay? Because what we do is look at your application as a whole. It's not looked at just this portion, your education is just not looked at your volunteers, not looked at your school and your transcript. Everything is pulled together. And so therefore, that's all that the readers have to know you by. And when it's kind of pieced together, it leaves them wondering, well, what did they mean? Okay, what were they saying, or what was their intent? If someone has to ask that question if they're reading your application, that's not a good thing. My suggestion is, Esther, anybody else on here, have somebody review your application, okay? Have somebody review it, read it, and give you some feedback before you hit the submit button, and have somebody that knows you read it, because they would be able to catch anything that's on there that, you know, maybe they'll say, hey, can you provide a little bit more insight, or can you talk a little bit more about this, and, you know, so forth. Okay, great question, Esther. Thank you for asking, and I know you'll come back to me with one. I see your hand, Joanna, but you weren't next on my screen. Becky was. So Becky, you got a question for me?
Yeah, so if your application is complete, how many folks get accepted into it every year for the scholarship?
Great question. It depends on how many. Our scholar grant, and I'm going to toot our horn here, we allow individuals, the scholars that are already with us, to renew their scholar grant. So based off how many of them renew, that determines how many new scholar grants we can award for the year. I will tell you this, for this past year, we will have awarded 195 scholar grants. So let's say 100 renew. That means we got 95 slots for new people, okay? So it just depends on how many of them actually renew. That determines how many new scholar grants we can award each year. But let's say all of them graduate and move on. That means we got 195 scholar grants to award. So just know that number fluctuates each year. Great question.
I got a little confused on when you guys were talking about the fast fund.
Becky, is that another going into another question?
Nope. Sorry.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. If it's a FAFSA, I can answer a clarifying question. Did you put something in the chat? And Deshandra, are you good in the chat? Let me check in with her. You good? Okay, awesome. Why are you confused about the FAFSA, Becky?
Well, no, I was just wondering. So I have completed all my prerequisites for nursing school. Am I able to apply for this grant and then get it in August when the fall semester starts? How does that work?
Say what you said again. Repeat what you said again.
Okay, so I enter nursing school in the fall. Am I able to, if I'm approved for the grant, receive it in the fall when I start school?
Yeah, so the grant doesn't come. We don't start awarding the grant until the fall. Okay. Perfect. So like right now we're in application season. Application season runs through the end of March. Mid-March. Well, we begin review. I'm sorry. It runs through mid-February, and then end of March is when we start reviewing. Okay. And then individuals aren't notified until June, July, and then we start awarding in August. Okay. So yes, it's not immediate. It's not an immediate turnaround. Great question. Okay, Joanna.
Hello, ma'am. Thank you for leading this chat tonight.
Yes.
So I have two things. One,
answer one, and we're gonna come back around to get to everybody. So, what's the most pressing one? I'm sure all of them are pressing, but which one?
Kind of related, maybe. So I'm a returning student. I'm applying for. Well, I'm going to be going to school this semester at the community college, and then transferring to a 4-year university in the fall. I haven't been at school long enough to get any sort of professors that would probably write about me in time for the application for my recommendations. Yes. My references, I mean. But how does that work in terms of the application for if I don't, can I get other people to write the references?
Absolutely. It does not. I repeat, it does not have to be a professor. And I'm going to beg of you, my sisters, I'm going to call you my sisters, please do not get a professor to write that letter of rec for you if they don't know you. Jashandra, did you grab the questions for me? And once she grabs a question, I think she's in there. A letter of rec can come from anybody. But move with caution. It needs to be somebody that can, articulate the gifts, the talents, the attributes, the qualities about you in a letter, because they have to type this stuff up and they have to send it. And it has to be somebody that that's going to do that on your behalf. Okay, I love Mimo, but if I ask Mimo to do my letter of rec, it'll never get done. Mimo don't even know how to get into a computer. So I'm being silly, but I want you to take me seriously. Whomever you're asking to write that letter of rec needs to have some technical capabilities and be able to maneuver within the system, because what you do Joanna and everybody else on the call, you send the reference request over to them via email. In that application portal, you have to put their name, their phone number, how long you know them, how you know them. And when you hit send, a request goes directly to their email. Okay. Once they get that email, they then have to respond. So please make sure whomever you are asking to complete the letter of rec on your behalf has already agreed to do so. Don't just send it blindly. And come on, do I have a brave soldier that has already hit that send button and you didn't ask them? I ask that you unsend it tonight. I'm being silly, but I'm being serious. Do that because you want to ensure that they can. Who was it that was earlier that I was talking to that she was asking about last year? We can't use last year, but we don't want your application to be flagged as incomplete because you don't have your letters of rec. Okay.
So
would you make sure that it's somebody that's going to do it for you?
Is it more important to have it done by somebody who knows you very well, or like a professional that you work with, or like what's going to carry the most weight with the references?
It's not that neither one of them carry the most weight. What matters is which of them know you better and can articulate that in writing form. Okay. Because they're not speaking this, they're not on a call, they're literally having to write that. So you know better who would be able to articulate who you are as an individual, what your goals are. They ask, how successful do you think she would be a good candidate? Has this candidate reached their are they making success as it relates to their career goals, things of that nature? Jashandra, did you get the questions pulled up for the references?
Sorry,
they're in the chat.
Okay, so I dare not go back to that chat because it looks pretty busy right now. But Jashandra did say she put the questions that we asked the references to write on your behalf in that chat. So Joanna, go over there and find in the chat. And I gotta speed up because I'm talking too slow.
Thank you.
If I'm talking fast for you, you're welcome, dear. Rosie, I'm going to come back to you because I already asked you a question. So I need to catch these people that's in there. Chat with Jashandra in the chat section. If you have another question, and Jashandra, if you can't answer it, just let me know. Matter of fact, is there anything in there that I need to address as a whole?
Yeah. So let me go back to the question. It says, Johanna asked, what if I haven't filed my taxes for last year yet?
You said what now? You muted, Jashandra.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Joanna asked if you haven't filed your taxes for last year.
If you haven't filed, you didn't file taxes for last year? You said did not? Okay.
Yeah, didn't.
You got to have supporting documentation. How were you paid? Were you on unemployment?
Well, I worked last year. I just never filed taxes. But I could get copies of my W-2s. I just don't know if I'll be able to file my taxes before the 16th of February.
So that's what we ask that you do. If you have your W-2s for this year, it wouldn't be for last year at this point. It would be for this year because 22 technically was for last year was for, let me get my year right. Let me get my year right so I don't give you the wrong year. So you pretty much, if you're filing now for 23, that was for your 22 or 23 tax year. Okay, your 22 would have actually been for your 21. So it kind of is almost like a year behind. So if you're going to do W-2s, you need to do your 23 W-2s.
Oh, okay.
And please hear me, that's for everybody in your household. And
Right.
that it has to be your 23, well, that pays bills, of course, if you're married. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sue, S-O-U-A-D, you got a question for us?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, hi. I'm actually very new to this grant. I am
Yes.
just gathering information at this point. and I was able to look up the application and see if I pre-qualify. And I just did it, and I do qualify. And I even checked the school that I want to go to, and it is an accredited school.
Nice.
So that's good. So right now I'm just listening to all of you and then gathering information. And then if I have any questions, I'm sure I can find your email somewhere.
No, you can't find my email, but you can
No?
find me back here next Wednesday.
Okay, next
And
Wednesday. There you go.
I do like a mass call because it's just easier for us to do that. And
Okay.
let me tell you why I do that. I can't give specific
Yeah.
assistance and support. However, this is a collective. And I'm
Okay.
just literally only answering your questions. However, Jashandra put our info box email in there. If you do come to a stopping point and you can't move forward, you can still email us at info@rankinfoundation.org. Okay.
Perfect.
So
I'll do
write that down. If you have questions that come up and you can't move forward, that's the way to reach us. Okay.
Perfect. Sounds good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, dear. Happy applying though, and don't wait
Thank
too
you.
long. The deadline is February the 16th.
Yes.
Christine, where you go? Come back, Christine. You got a question for us?
I put my chicken in the oven. All right.
Hey, I want some chicken. I'm hungry.
I know. I'm a Floridian. I'm from Florida, but I moved up here to Minnesota now.
Uh-huh.
So my references will be from Florida. But because
okay.
I've only been here a year, I don't know anybody except my priest.
Yeah, that's okay.
But that
no problem at all.
Is
no problem at all. Whoever knows you better, and by you being from Florida, please, I'm begging you to ask them to do it because they know you better since you've only been up there.
I get my Florida people.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. And again, it can be anybody. It does not have to be a professor. Okay. Does not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome, Christine. Don't let that chicken burn. We need some good covenant bird. All right, Nafisa, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. You got a question for us? Nafisa, I saw you come off mute, but I can't hear you.
Miss Artist, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, good evening and good evening, everybody. Yes, my question is, if I'm lucky, if I get a grant from Jeanette Ranking Foundation, if I don't enroll full 12 credit, will I be eligible still for grant or not?
Yes, you will be. Let me give you some good tea. This is some good hot tea. With the Rankin Foundation, we consider full-time, and this is just with our foundation now, so don't get it confused with your school. Our full-time status is considered as 6 or more credit hours. Okay. So yes, we understand that most of our students, especially you're 35 and over, you got families, you know, you're working, you have other things going on. So absolutely, you still can apply. You do have to be enrolled now. You do have to be enrolled, accepted, and or attending college already to be able to qualify, but you do not have to be taking a full load to qualify for the grant.
Good.
Okay. Awesome. 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 Saritha, you're next up for us. You got a question for me, my dear?
Yes. Hi, how are you?
Oh, doing amazing. What about yourself?
I'm great, thank you. I'm listening in. I'm new to the scholarship information as well. Majority of my questions have been answered already.
Awesome.
I have one question that I would like to ask. I'm currently in a nursing program, and I will finish the program in August. And I would like to know, am I still eligible to apply?
What level of degree is it for you?
It will be a
bachelor's?
It will be a bachelor's degree.
So you finish in August, or do you wrap up in the fall, end of fall?
I will graduate September, I think 17th.
Do you have Do you have to pay money, or have you already paid your money for your final term? Because you said you'll wrap up in September. So do you have another semester that you have to have funding for?
I have 2 more semesters that I need funding for. Well, this current semester, which starts Wednesday of next week, and 2 more semesters after, well, total of 3 semesters.
Okay, so with us, this is where I mean, I can tell you what our timeline is, and it will be, oh, I don't want to say impossible, but really, really tight. We don't start awarding until August. And then that would be contingent upon you being selected. This is where I say everybody that applies, I keep it real. I'm honest with you here. Not everybody that applies gets a scholar grant. So there's no way for me to be able to know. This is why I tell people, please don't put all of your eggs in one basket. Okay. Right. And so, Saritha, I can't tell you that, yes, you'll be able to get it, because I don't know, since we're in application season. Application season closes February the 16th. We don't notify our individual applicants about their status until pretty much July. And then July is when we start to turn everything around and start getting payments out. So that's a tough question for me to answer for you, because I fully can't answer it because we're still in application season. But at least I can give you our timeline so that you know. So that's kind of left up to you. If you get selected, I guess let me finish like this. If you get selected, by all means, yes, we'll make that one final payment for you. And then, of course, once you get a bachelor's, you're no longer eligible at that point if you were looking to continue. Because our grant is up to a bachelor's degree. Okay. So once you get that, if you still got just that, like Saritha, you just got this one last semester you're trying to get through, if that be the case and you want to go ahead and give it a shot, I still encourage you to do so, because guess what? That's less money that you got to come out with your pocket or take out a loan or whatever the case may be to pay for it, right?
Right. Okay.
So, yeah. So happy applying to you still, Saritha. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
I'm Laura, you're up next on my screen, but I saw this come through. Somebody asked, what can the funds be used for? The funds can be used for whatever you want it to be used for. Deshandra put unrestricted in there. And so that's what that means. We understand that oftentimes applicants already have tuition paid for. They may need it for transportation or whatever the case may be. That's your call. So we do send the scholar grant checks, can go over directly to the student, or it can go to the school. It's totally up to whatever the student desires. Okay, so that's a great question. Laura Jackson, you're up for me, dear. You're still on mute. And while she's looking to come off mute, let's talk about fund. How much is it? That question normally comes up. So I'll answer that while Laura is working to come off mute. The application, the amount for each year is up to $2,500. You're off mute, Laura. So I see it now. Up to $2,500. Okay. But as I was sharing, I think with Mary or somebody earlier, you can renew our grant each year. So you can be with us up to 5 years as long as you remain eligible and still qualified to receive our grant. Up to 5 years, okay? But annually it's up to $2,500, and it's based off if you're enrolled full-time, which is 6 or more credit hours, or less than 6, which is part-time. Okay? All right, Laura, what's your question for us?
Okay, thank you so much. I have a lot of questions that they have been answered, all of them. And the only one that I have now is I have been a part-time and full-time. Some terms I part-time and full-time because I am paying. I have a Pell Grant plus cash. So this term I'm doing a full-time. So how should I apply? Should I apply like full-time or part-time?
It depends on what you're doing at the moment. And when you're saying you don't apply for us full-time or part-time, you just flat out apply. What the full-time and part-time comes into play is if you receive the grant, then we talk about if you're enrolled at that point, full-time or part-time. So that's not really relevant.
If I receive the grant, it's full-time.
Yeah, so it's not really relevant. Right now at this point, the key is just getting in there and applying. Okay, whether you're going full-time or part-time, because both would qualify for you to apply for our scholar grant. But once, for those that get and receive the scholar grant, then that's where we determine full-time versus part-time. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, Carolyn, you're up. Got a question for us?
Can you hear me through my mic?
I can.
Okay, very good. I've had issues. I am a transfer student. And so, but I actually got my AA in 2020. So there's been some lag time. So how does that work exactly? You said, I remember you saying that you actually have to be enrolled and going, because I'm accepted for fall.
And that's fine. So and I'm sorry, I probably should have added that on. So I used the interchangeably enrolled / accepted. So as long as you already have an acceptance type of student though, Carolyn, because I know that can get a little tricky, you would need to list new student. Since you would have to have an acceptance letter. So let me explain it to you as quickly as I can. If you were transferring, since you've kind of had a break in your schooling, and while this school may not be a new school for you, say for instance, you're picking up. So did you kind of just take like a gap or something to give yourself a gap?
Yeah, and it's all about money.
Yeah.
And this was the first year that I had a FAFSA that came out favorable. And so I'm going to see where that goes. I'm hoping it's good. And I would love to apply for this scholarship as well, or a scholar grant. But let's see, where was I going with that?
So we were talking about like if it's current, how would you apply? Because there are 3 options, excuse me. You're a new student, which means you don't, and this never tell you why I said new student. You don't have a current transcript. You may have the transcript from 2020, I think it was that you said. Did you say 2020 was the last time?
Yes, I earned my AA for transfer. And so which means I can transfer to I earned my AA for transfer at a community college that has they have a acceptance program with a state school.
Okay, so do you have the letter that said you were accepted at the state school?
They never sent it to me, but I got an email. I told them actually. And so one of the admissions people just sent me an email. It's like a 2-liner, but if that'll work.
Okay, but you did say you're already enrolled, correct? So you are enrolled for classes in the fall?
They don't enroll yet. It's accepted. And so there's no way to enroll for classes yet.
Okay, so how and when? Because we're in spring, so maybe you wouldn't be able to enroll just yet, but you have to have one of the other. Okay, so if it's a 2-liner, this is where I say go back to them, Carolyn, and ask, can you provide some type of documentation that says, hey, yes, I've been accepted, for is it a 4-year program, right? Since you have your associates?
Well, I have 2 years left, so I go in as a junior.
Okay, gotcha. So with that being said, even there has to be something that they can provide to you that at least speaks of your acceptance. If you do not have, you gotta have it. Okay, there's no way around it, because you're moving from pretty much one sector of your education, or phase, I'll say, from one over into the other. And since you have completed that associates, you're now moving on as a junior. So whatever school, I'm assuming, is it different schools or is it the same school?
Oh, it's a different school for sure.
Okay, exactly. So that's why you have to now, because your transcript wouldn't suffice. It would only say that you completed your associates at this school. So
Right.
you would have to have that acceptance / or enrollment for your new school. And that's why I say you have to list as a new student, because if you say current student, you're going to have to upload your previous semester's transcript. And you don't have that.
Oh, I guess not. So
No, you don't. You finished in 2020. That
Correct.
means you would need to have fall transcript for 23, right? Because that was the most recent transcript for those who are considered a current student.
Okay, I'm glad I asked, because that's very different than what other what I've been asked for before with these things. So
yeah, I'm glad you
you
did
have your
too,
own rules.
It wouldn't have been. And even in the application, we tell you in the description when we ask you if you're a current, a new, or a transfer student, it tells you what documentation you need to upload.
So
and
I would have normally said transfer.
Yeah, and you're not. So transfer, and it gives you even a description in transfer. Transfer says you just completed your associates and you're now moving on. So say for instance, could just completed would have been completed in the fall. And that's not the case. You completed 2 years ago. Okay.
I see.
So there's been that gap.
Interesting.
Okay?
Everyone else would consider me a transfer, but not for your program. So okay. So
No.
I'm a newbie for you.
Yeah, it would be. Well, and you're technically a new student as it relates because you're going to a new school. So think about it more in those terms. While yes, you're transferring, and the program that I think you're in allows you to transfer, but you're still technically a new student at this particular university that you're looking to go over into. Okay. Awesome. Awesome.
Thank
Let's
you.
see. You're welcome. Julie. Got a question for us, Julie?
Hi, thank you. I've received a lot of information. May I ask how many board members look through the applications?
Ooh, I can give you based off last year. And why are you asking that, Julia?
I'm just curious to know who the audience is.
The audience, ooh, when I tell you it goes from A to Z, it literally does. Our age range is very diverse. Let me give you kind of a backdrop really quickly. We are intentional about our reviewers because we understand we have a diverse group of applicants. So we want to make sure that our volunteer readers match that of our applicants, okay? So I recruit heavily to ensure diversity all across, age all across, male and female. Here's the thing. I know you're like, well, this is for women. I get it. But we have men that can provide, that are in education, that can provide some good feedback. So board members last year, ooh, Deshandra, you're gonna make me think. But I want to say of the 22, how many board members we got, Deshandra? 22? Of the 22, half of them read our application. But most of them, or no, I'm not. Yeah, all of them, and quite a few of them understand the importance of going back to school as a non-traditional student. So I promise you, our board is probably in your favor for real, for real.
I really, really hope so. Thank you so much.
They are. But again, it's not, and let me say this, let me give you all the tea since I can give it to you. Every application, there's a 3-tier review round, three-tier level. You go through 3 rounds of review. By the time you get to that 3rd level, 10 to 12 people have had their eyes on your application. So no one person can boot you out. Okay. So don't be alarmed that, one person is going to read my application and I'm gone. Absolutely not. That's not fair. And it's certainly not equitable. We don't do that here at the Rankin Foundation. So
Latrina, no pressure, right? Like 10 to 12 people, no pressure.
Yeah. And again, here, if it's a great application, I promise you that the 10 to 12 are going to come together and they're going to have amazing things to say about your application, Julia. You got this. Happy applying.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, dear. Okay, Erica, let's see if you're still on here. My screen shifted. Yeah, Erica, Cherry. Got a question for me?
Hello.
Hello,
Yes,
I can hear you.
Okay. Because I had to go off, my laptop went dead. So
Okay. Yeah, you
Um,
moved on me. I was like, because I wrote your name down. I'm right. You see me looking, I'm writing names down and trying to follow along. Yes, ma'am.
thank- so I just have a quick question. My
Yeah.
question is, if my college changes between me applying and fall semester, is that going to make any difference to my application? So like I'm currently enrolled at a community college, but there's a possibility that I may attend a 4-year school starting in fall. Would that
Yes,
make, but I
ma'am.
will, either way it goes, I will be in school.
No problem at all. The
Okay.
only thing I want you to make sure is that if there is a transfer, is because when you fill out your application, you have to write down accreditation. So you just want to make sure that whatever school you're looking to transfer is an accredited college, because that question is still going to come back up for you. So just make sure you're good there as it relates to accreditation. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Awesome. Let's see. Jasmine, you're up next. Jashandra just put a link in there for you to check your school's accreditation, by the way. Go check it out. Make sure your school is accredited. Reputable. Jasmine Chapman is the last name that's on here. You got a question for us? And if not, I'll come back to you. And you're on mute if you're talking. You're off mute now.
No, I don't have a question.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, dear. Have you started your application?
No, I haven't turned my application in yet. I kind of wanted to do this informational first.
Okay, you started, right?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Miss Kenya, you're up next, dear, for me. You got a question for us tonight?
This has been really good. My signal has not been as good as this, so I don't know if my question was answered. I put it in the chat earlier.
I can hear you. Did you answer the question, Jashandra, for Kenya? Or what is your question? I can hear you, Kenya.
Okay, the question was about whether there's one person who gets the award.
What is it? What now? Say what you said again.
To give out the grant award.
Go ahead, Jashandra.
Sorry, Kenya, I didn't mean to cut you off, but she wanted to know how many awards will be awarded.
Yes, I
she
answered
missed
that
answer.
earlier. Yeah, it depends, Kenya, on the number of renewals that we have, because we do allow our applicant or our scholars to renew their scholar grant. It's based off, I gave the scenario, like this past year, this year we're awarding 195 scholar grants. If 100 of them renew, that means we have 95 openings for new scholar grants. But suppose, like I said earlier, all of them finish up. That means we got 195 spots. Okay. So just depends on how many renewals we have. Great question. All right. Let's see who we got up next. Carly.
Hi, yes. Where exactly do we need to submit our financial aid information? I just haven't found it on the application.
It's in Jashandra? Tell her, look at the application. Look at one of your applications. Carly, Jashandra will chat with you and we'll come back and put that openly. Does anybody else have questions about where they submit financials? Does somebody on here have their application open? And maybe it's because you haven't gotten that far. If you're talking about taxes, Carly.
Yes.
That's toward the end of the application.
Okay, that might be it. I just haven't gotten all the way to that point.
Look,
okay.
Keep going. Keep going.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Anna, you're up.
Good evening. Thank you so much for hosting this meeting. But all my questions has been addressed. And thank you so much for providing very thorough answers.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Anna. Glad I could be of assistance to everyone. All right. Oh, Lord. Edwards, you are not going to make me try and say your first name, but you're going to have to say it when you come off mute.
Hey, it's De Galios.
Oh, never mind, Edwards. I'm going to stick with Edwards. How are you tonight? What's your question for us?
So, I think all my questions were pretty much answered. And as far as the recommendation, so you'll send them the link and then they'll send it to you guys directly, the letter?
And
Okay.
so it's called what we call the blind process. So what you do in your application, we ask you, once you get down, which is toward the bottom, by the way, once you get down, we ask you to put in their name, their phone number, their email address, their email address, their email address. Why am I repeating myself? It is very important that you put in the right email address, so that when you hit send, it can send that email over to them. And so then whomever you're requesting that from, they have to complete it on your behalf. Okay. So
Okay.
just know you just have to enter that information. And as soon as you hit send, they get it. It's like boom. Once you hit send, give it a few seconds to do their little thing in cyber world, and it's in their inbox.
Okay. And as far as like, because I'm on disability, so I have Social Security income, and then it asked me for proof. Like, what kind of proof do you need? Because I mean, I have the list and everything, but I didn't know for
So just like
a
I think
letter.
it's called your benefits letter. So you
Okay.
get annually like a benefits
Yeah.
letter. So you
need a
just have to upload that.
A statement of the amount of the whole letter.
The letter just says, hey, you know, Miss Edwards has been awarded, she's on disability. It says that she gets this much monthly, and it has a lot of other information on there, but it's a letter that I know you can certainly get over from
But I
there.
provide SNAP.
Yeah,
The proof.
awesome.
What kind of proof do I provide for SNAP?
Yeah, same thing. It's your benefits letter, your eligibility, I think it's called, your letter, eligibility letter. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank
Same
you.
thing. You're welcome. Gina. Okay, I'm going to speed up for real, for real. Gina, what's your question for us, dear? Gabriella, I see you. I'm coming to you. Gina, Choi, you got a question for us? You're on mute if you're talking. Okay, there you go. There you go.
Yeah. I have not the question. I just follow the meeting right now. I didn't raise your hand. Sorry.
Okay, awesome. All right. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Gabriella, what's your question for us, dear?
Yeah, so I found the application and I'm working on it. And I noticed that it's asking for me to upload my transcript. So if I am uploading the transcript, does it mean it has to be an unofficial transcript? Because the official one you can't obviously get, you have to ask for it to be sent directly to you guys. So my question, is it okay to send the unofficial one that I have?
It is. It is perfectly okay to send unofficial. Just make sure, Gabriella, that normally on that first page is where your name is listed. So just make sure that your name is a part of that the documents that you upload, so we can ensure that it's yours and not somebody else's. Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Great question, by the way. Miss Pamela, with your hands on your hip, you got a question for us, Miss Pamela?
When you dip, we dip. That's
No, I don't. Thank you.
Who said that? When I dip, you dip, we dip. I heard you.
Yeah,
I'm
that
dancing.
song. That was me, Johanna. I remember
Go
that.
to Hannah. Go to Hannah. Go to Hannah. I'm dancing. All right. Thanks, Pamela. Tara, you got a question for us? There you go. I see you. I think you're coming off mute.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes. I'd also just like to repeat, thank you so much for this.
You're welcome.
My question is, at this point, do I need to have a FAFSA to continue the process?
It is required. FAFSA is required. Now, we've had this question come up. Even if you're not eligible, because some people, if you've tapped out and maxed out, it's still vital that you, unless you're just paying out of pocket, this is you completing that FAFSA actually opens you up and gives you access to other opportunities. Okay. So that's why we strongly suggest that you complete it. Unfortunately, like I said, some people have maxed out, but then that's where you can still qualify for loans. And some other opportunities, they won't even consider you if you haven't done the FAFSA. Okay. So if you haven't, I would encourage FAFSA, FAFSA.gov. If you go there and just complete it, of course, you got to enter all of your information. Gina just put in the chat, I see, is it for 23, 24? If you have completed it, if you have completed, which your 23, 24 is the most recent, yes. Now, if you have a 23, 24 that's really, really outdated, please go ahead and complete that 23, 24. Keep it in mind, it takes 7 to 10 business days to process. Okay, so just know if you went on tonight, you wouldn't upload just that you've actually submitted and completed. Okay, you would wait till it's finalized. And you have about 14 pages. It's called the SAR, Student Aid Report, that you want to get, and it's a full report. Like I said, it's about 11 to 14 pages.
Oh, so just to clarify, I need to fill out the FOSFA, and then I also need to upload the SAR.
It's called the Student
application.
Aid Report. In your application. Yes, ma'am. Have you gotten into the application, Tara?
Yes, I am part way in on it. So
okay. Yeah, so it certainly
I just haven't gotten that. I haven't gotten that far yet. So
yeah, it does actually for that. Okay, and Gina, there's a video in the application. There's a link. There's a link actually in the application that talks to you about being able to, and you too as well, Tara, that talks about how to save and print as a PDF. Okay, I got two more callers that two more Zoomers that are on here that I have to answer your questions because you've been patient and you waited. Okay, Esther G. Esther D, I got you, but there's an Esther G that's on the call. You got a question for us?
Oh, no, I don't. I'm just listening at the moment. Thank you.
You started your application?
I did start it. And I kept missing this informational call. So I definitely want to just, keep coming on until I do get some questions.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Deshandra. This SAR Student Aid Report is certainly pulled from your FAFSA. Okay. Nafisa, I'm back to you. Oh, Lord, I see two hands up there. Help me, Jesus. Nafisa, what's your question, dear?
Thank you. I'm sorry if I'm taking somebody's time.
Oh, yeah, I'm about to shut it down. We're 2 hours. 2 hours. 2 minutes.
Okay. Oh,
2 minutes over.
Right, it's already 7. Yeah, I'm sorry. So I'm going to be quick. So my question is, after when I submit my application, my professors, they get automatically the link up, the link that they have to upload a recommendation letter.
Yes.
So when they fill that application, will I receive something that they did it?
Yes, you'll get a notification that says, let me see if I can find this in my email. Hey, you have received a supporting documentation from Deshandra. If you'll go into info and read one of those notifications that has come into that info box, I just need to know what the subject line says. So that way Nafisa will be able to know. Okay, yeah, you will certainly receive an email though. We don't leave you hanging. You'll get an email that says, hey, we have received supporting documentation from whomever that person is that you requested the letter of rec from. Okay, so you get it. And in your application, you can see that it has been submitted. Let me see. I'm going to pull up an application. So after I answer Razia's question, and that's the last question for tonight, I think Deshandra has held down the chat. Ooh, this chat been busy tonight. It say 91. Y'all been on a roll. Probably. All right, Razia, what's your question for me? I'm being silly.
I have two questions. One is can we use the allotted scholarship to pay for like housing, if anything, if we need it?
You can use it to pay for whatever your heart desires.
Oh, okay.
That's your call, as long as your tuition is already paid for, because that's what's most important, you know?
Okay,
Yeah.
Martina, I have a short question.
Oh,
hold on, Esther.
Yeah, because I'm towards graduation. I'm not full-time now. So can I still apply?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure
Okay.
can. Sure can. All right, Razia, what's your last question?
Yeah, sorry. I wanted to ask about I haven't been in school for a while. That like this goes back to the question of the reference. Would it be okay if I use somebody, I mean someone who's known me for like 15, 20 years to write it? It doesn't have to be somebody in like academics because I haven't been in school for a long time.
I'm gonna beg. Who know Keith Sweat on this call? I'm gonna be begging the female Keith Sweat. I'm gonna make myself a Keith Sweat name. Please don't. Please do not use somebody who do not know you. Just please don't. Just don't do it. Okay? Because what they will do, they may submit the letter of request, the recommendation request on your behalf, but it's going to be very vague because they don't have enough information to answer the questions about you. Okay? So be very careful, cautious, and just lead with discernment as to who you want to get, and also ask. Seriously, I joke, I make it comical because I want you to have an enjoyable time, but make sure you ask whomever you're gonna request that letter of rec from. Okay, Deshandra, we're ending on this note. What does that email say that they will receive when a reference letter has been submitted on their behalf?
So I copy and pasted subject line from the info box.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says she done put somebody's name out there. Reference received.
I'm sorry, y'all.
Look, reference received for Tamil. So Tamil is not on, but it will put it in there for Tamil Jones in the 23 Rankin Scholar Grant application. So I'm telling you, you will get an email, and in your application, I'm looking for, we got some mock. Deshandra, what was your mock recommend tester and something? What was your
Testy McTesterson.
Testy, T-S-T-I-E. How did you spell it? T-S-T. Let's just put it.
Testerson.
Oh Lord. Y'all see what Deshandra do to me? Oh, they let me pull it up.
I'm sorry.
I was hoping I could find it so I could share a screen so you could see the actual application and what it looks like. Well, what it'll show you on there. Let me see. Amelia Bedelia is one of our test applicants. Yeah, we have to keep it fun. Oh, this one doesn't say receive. Never mind. But again, just know that you will receive notification. It doesn't. Yes, whoever just asked this, you can certainly join us. Please hear me. We got 3 more weeks for us to be on this call. The 17th, the 24th, and the 31st is the last week. Let me tell you why we stop on the 31st. You need to not wait until those last few weeks to start your application. Okay. So, and because we're so thick into going through the applications, it just would not be wise that we're on here the week leading up, and we probably couldn't get through all the calls if we were. Okay. So same bad time, same bad channel. Please join us for another fun, exciting, engaging, and informational call. You all are so welcome. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us. Thank you so much for your patience as we got through and navigated. And thank you for hanging out, because we still got quite a few that are still hanging out here a little over time. I'm going to tell your bosses to pay you a little OT for tonight, because you did that. All right, everybody. Have a great evening. Good night.
Thank you, Latrina. You're awesome.
Good
I love
night.
you.
Thank you. Good night.
Esther. Good night. Good night. Good night.